All right, so the files have already been updated on the Teachable account along with the recording. So yesterday we had done charts and we had started with flash fill, which we are going to continue with today. And of course, we had done a little bit of dynamic arrays as well, which is a part of modeling, right? Also, I have spoken to Anubhav about your SQL lecture, but I will just confirm his availability. It will either happen on Saturday or on Sunday. I will let you know, right? I'll probably give you a few options, then you guys can decide and come back to me. That is something half pending from my side. So let's quickly look at charts, what we had done. So we had worked on our data 12, where we have 17 subcategories. We found out the baseline. We have the baseline since we wanted to find out the value against the baseline. So numbers that are lesser than the baseline will be gray in color. Numbers more than the baseline will be yellow in color. And the top n values are also highlighted. So fairly simple formulas. We have the baseline. We have a check whether the value is higher than the baseline or not. And we were also looking at the rank, in which case we wanted to see if it is less than equal to the rank. So if I say 3, that means that we want the category to be in the top 3, right? Like this. Any question on this, anyone?
Sir, not on this. Can you please just give us brief more about that let function where we can use on?
Okay.
Just when defining the function.
See, let, there is no rule that it can only be used here or there. It can be used for the most simple calculation. It can be used for the most complex calculation. So let me take a simple one. You don't need to do this. I'm working on 001, but you can just watch. What we have with us is 5 products which have to be multiplied by a GST amount, right? Now, usually how we would write this is we will say equal to C4 multiplied by F2 with a $sign, and then we will drag it down. If you have Microsoft Office 365 or if you're working online, then we can also do equal to C4 colon C8 multiplied by F2. We don't need a $sign. Remember, we did this yesterday. So Excel will smartly multiply each one of the 5 items with that 12%. The problem is that this is not very readable. So if I want to add a let to this, I will simply say that, okay, let my products be C4 to C8 and let my GST be F2. And then my final result will be products multiplied by GST, like this. Again, you might say, but why did we need to do it? See, you need to do stuff like this because real life is not easy. You don't have to write these cute small formulas. It's long, it's complex. You are not told which functions and formulas you have to use. So you have to figure that out on your own. So anything you can do to help you, A, write the formula, B, reduce the errors, and C, help communicate your work to other people. You should use that, right? So it is not just about saying that, you know what, I don't care if other people understand my work or not. I am going to write it this way. No, it doesn't work like that. So when you have your managers, in my case, I have my clients, the readability is very, very important. Let me give you an example of a project that I had worked on for Vedanta, right? Vedanta has been a client for a long time. This is a couple of years back, which is when let wasn't there, right? We were doing an MIS automation work. So we had taken the data from SAP. So you can see that this is my SAP data for the entire organization. And we had to build some analysis on it, right? So we had to find cuts, things like gender diversity, payout, how many people in a grade, attrition, joining, things like that. What I would like you all to see is the size of these formulas, right? And I'm not showing it to impress you or anything. I'm just trying to tell you that when you really work in analytics and you are in modeling, this is what you will have to do. Now, back then we had no choice, right? So the client did not have the capability of building formulas like this. So they hired me and then I did it for them. But I also did not have a choice because I was limited to Excel's capability. So there was no way for me to repeat something. Do you see this part? Do you see how this indirect H177 is repeating in every alternate line? Because I did not have let with me, it was even more difficult because I had to do this copy and paste. Now, people might say, how does it make a difference even if you have to copy paste? Of course, it makes a difference, right? It becomes more complex, it becomes longer. There are more chances of a small error happening somewhere. So if today I had to do it, I can probably reduce the complexity 5 times, right? If I have the let with me. So it's not that anybody is going to force you to use it. But then again, if you feel that it's offering some efficiency to the process, you should do it, right? So this is a good example for you to see how let would have really helped me. Like this part, this indirect text H177 MMM right? Till this part. All of this is redundant because I'm not redundant, but it is being replicated multiple times. And I did not have to do that if I had let with me. Right? So yeah, any questions on this, anyone?
So basically, we can define a cell or a cell containing formulas.
Yeah, a cell, a range of cells, an intermediary calculation, whatever it is that you want to do, you can do it using let.
So what we have when we do it in a cell, so it will remember that variable in that cell, or it will be useful in the whole worksheet.
It is remembered only in that cell. That's it, nothing else.
Okay, sir.
Right. So the scoping is only within the cell. So let function, like I said, is only available on 365 and on the upcoming Excel 2021 as well. Not on any other version of Excel. And what we are doing here is we're essentially creating a variable name, right? So for example, I'm saying that X is 1, Y is 1, and I'm doing X plus Y. So rather than writing 1 plus 1 or A1 plus A2, we're able to create a variable declaration, right, like this. Why? Improved performance. You might not really understand this now, but think about it. In that formula that I showed you, because I was writing the same part 7 times, Excel has to compute it 7 times. See, that is a problem with the way Excel works. So when you look at this formula, if I am writing this 1, 2, 3 times, every time I write it, Excel is going to recompute. And that doesn't make any sense because if I'm using indirect H8 MMMYY, why does it have to calculate it 3 times? But that's the way Excel works. Excel doesn't understand that it can save on the computation power by saving it, by running the calculation and saving it and using it multiple times. That is what let allows us to do. That is why on the website, it tells you very clearly that for long, complex projects, it will result in an improved performance, right? Because earlier, if you write the same expression multiple times in a formula, Excel will calculate it multiple times. So if you say A1 plus B1 5 times in a formula, it will calculate A1 plus B1 5 times in a formula, which doesn't really make any sense, right? Let allows you to remove that hassle. Also, from a readability perspective, it makes a lot of sense to do that. Okay. Let's quickly recap dynamic arrays as well.
Excuse me, sir.
Tell me.
Sir, can we the customization that you applied on the charts? Can we do it on the Office online?
I don't know. I think so. I think most of it will be available, but there are still areas in online where some tiny features here and there would be missing, right? More and more, Microsoft is trying to build it at par, bring it at par. But so far, we haven't really reached that point where it is a complete replacement. You should follow this guy on LinkedIn. His name is Brian Jones. Brian Jones is heading Excel for Microsoft. He's like the guy, right, for Excel. He's fairly active. You should definitely follow him. He has been a Microsoft guy for a long time, and he heads entire Excel development worldwide. So he comes up with a lot of these articles and he shares a lot of work talking about the new functions that are coming in and the future of Excel, stuff like that. Should definitely follow him on LinkedIn.
Okay, sir.
So he, in fact, spoke about this as well, how they are trying to bring Excel online at par with Excel desktop. Just give me a moment. Mhm. I can't seem to find it now. That's okay. You can go back and do some reading on your own. So yeah.
Okay, sir. Sure. Sir.
Cool. So let's quickly recap dynamic arrays once. So that would be yesterday, right? This must be the one, 009. Yeah, 009. What happened? Why is it opening OneDrive? Okay. Let me open it from here. Okay, that makes sense. Damn it. So hold on. Okay, so it's opening now. Right. So we had done how arrays work, right? So we had seen how one cell can be multiplied with an array. We had seen how an entire column can be multiplied with a corresponding column. And we had also seen how to create a matrix by multiplying 3 cells in a column with 3 cells in a row. Right? After this, we had done a slightly longer formula, which was from a customer acquisition perspective, where we wanted to see who are the new customers that we have acquired. So this was a combination of VLOOKUP. VLOOKUP gave us either an NA or the value. We wanted to convert the NA into true and the value into false. We did that using isError. And then I wanted to use filter because from the true and false values, we only wanted the true values, right? Like that. Right. Any questions on this? Because we will not be able to come back to this. We have a lot more to cover. So if there's anything you would like to ask, you can ask me now. And then we will continue with the rest of the topics.
Sir, I wanted to ask, I may sound stupid, but how to know when to call which function?
You don't know. You never know. I've been working on Excel, for 18 years. I still don't know. Sometimes you spend 30 minutes on a formula, you get the result, and then suddenly it hits you that, oh my God, I could have saved 20 minutes by doing it in a certain different way. That is a natural thing, right? So that's the beauty of it. If nobody's going to tell you, there is no checklist, there is no guide that tells you when to use what, when not to use it. You only learn it over a period of time, number one. And number two, you have to experiment a lot. So you have to be creative and try different combinations to see what works, what doesn't work. Then at another level, you say, okay, all of these 5 options work, but then should I be using this or the other one? Because the other one is more efficient, right? So yeah, I mean, that's my answer. Nobody can tell you that. I'm not capable of telling you when to use what because I myself don't know when to use what. Whenever I see a problem, the first thing I do is I think of the 5 different ways and then I think of the pros and cons of using every one of those methods.
Thank you, sir.
Great. Anything else, anyone?
Sir, just a request that whenever you get to finish this Excel, just give us a bunch of formulas or something functions like that that are normally used in the industries or any data analytics. That's all.
No, it is not about the functions. If I tell you that these are the 20 most used functions, that doesn't help you because you don't have to learn functions. You have to build formulas. Me telling you that, okay, learn VLOOKUP, isError, indirect, match, index, that doesn't help you, right? Because the way, it's a very simple thing. It's a factorial, right? If I tell you 25 functions, what is 25 factorial become? You understand where I'm getting to, right? It's a question of permutations and combinations, right? So there would be so many different ways in which the formula can be constructed. So me telling you the most used functions is not really going to help you. Also, even if I tell you, it's not apt because it depends a lot on the industry, the function, the organization that you're working with. And I think a Google search would probably do a better job at that rather than me. So if you just say most used functions in Excel, I think that would be a good way to go about it. In any case, when you do the courses that are there on Teachable, that will help you. And I think there are enough websites that do a much better job than I will, telling you for finance and marketing, which are the functions that are most important. But there is no one definitive list. If that is what you expect, not really. You won't find that everywhere. Search for most used functions. Next slide. Look at this. ExcelJet has given you 101 Excel functions, which are, this is one of the good websites, right? exceljet.net. So they have given you a list of 101 functions that are the most used in Excel. It's a free download, so you'll be able to look at this. Let me share it with everyone. All right, so now we come to flash fill, what we had started but not completed yesterday. So we had seen that from a data set, if we wanted to extract only the shipping mode, let me do it one more time. If you only wanted the shipping mode, we were able to give one sample and then press Control E, and that gave us a result. The same thing works for the ID as well. Control E works very well, but it did not work for the first 4 numbers. And because our problem was a little more complex, we had to give more samples, right? So if you give one more sample, 1621, it works. So yeah, just catch up to this point. Till this point, any questions? Then we'll do the last 2 as well.
So which file was it?
I'm sorry,
File number?
001, the first folder.
Okay.
Sir, yesterday you told about one of the courses on your portal for marketing. Which was it?
Like there isn't one that you have to do, but the customer analytics one is a must. You should definitely do that. This one.
Customer. Okay.
This will cover quite a few things, right? So yeah, I wouldn't say that this is the only course important. I think everything is important, but yeah. But this might be a little challenging to start with because this is like one of the more advanced courses. So I would suggest that you start with the initial courses first, brush up on your basics, and then continue with it. So things like data cleaning, VLOOKUP, pivot table, charts, date, all of these have to be very clear first before you jump into analytics. All right. So we have the ship mode ID, the 4 numbers. Name is very simple. We already know how to do this. So all we have to do is to give one sample, which is, let's say, Aaron Bergman. So I'm switching the position of the first name and the last name. The original input had Bergman Aaron, but we are switching it. So we are making it Aaron Bergman. But that works as well, right? Very well. And for the email ID, if I write a.bergman at imi.com, which A do you think it will pick up? Will it pick up the first one or the second one as a sample?
Second one, sir.
Second
Why
one.
not the first one?
Because the
Okay.
caps.
But one way of saying is that it should prioritize the one on the left, right? Because it should start searching from the left.
So make it more clear. We can add second one also.
Correct. So what happens here is that if you only give one sample, even though typically it will search from left to right, in this case, it is going to prioritize the case over the position. So despite the fact that we have an A as the first letter, it is not going to look at that. Why? Because it thinks that maybe I want to match the case as well. So it will actually pick up incorrect answers because it is not giving me J.Ritter, it is giving me U.Ritter, U being the second letter. In this case, how do we explain to Excel that, you know what, I want you to take the first A and then convert it into lowercase. So we will say that we want J.Ritter at IMI.com, right? We don't even have to give the first sample. The second sample is good enough and we get the result like this. So what I'm trying to teach you here is that when the problem is more complex, we have to give more samples, and more samples is not equal to, I don't know where the not equal to symbol is. Let me just search once. Anyway, I don't have that much time now. So more samples is not equal to better results, right?
Sure.
Give better samples.
So if in case we are looking at this Bergman Aaron, there are a couple of more names, similar names, and the email ID mentioned, like what it has extracted is also again like same. So is there any way out by which, like, if the person is having same name, but obviously you want a different ID, like we should add some 01 or 02 or something like that every time?
Flashfill can only extract data for you, or it can concatenate something for you. So like in this case, I'm adding IMI.com. What you're saying is that we need to add a sequence and we need to differentiate them. Flashfill can't do that. If that is what you want to, then you have to use a formula. Right?
Okay.
So for me, it is not working. It is not giving me the results.
Yes, sir. Same.
I don't know, share your screen. Let's see. You have written a comma in the first cell. That's why it is not able to match the pattern. After IMI, it has to be a period, not a comma. Anyone else?
Yes, sir. Answering.
No, I know the error. Show me the inputs that you have given. A.Bergman, J.Ritter. That doesn't make any sense. No? In the first name, you have taken the A from Aaron. In the second one, you have taken the R from Ritter. Right? So it should be J.Ritter, not R.Just. Correct.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Sir,
Anyone
if I
else?
may ask one more question. So recently when we were giving exams, so what happened was that there was a formula standard deviation which was available in the version that our faculty had, but I didn't had it in my Excel. So there are a number of formulas which they just avoid in the newer versions, or they are available in the previous versions. So is there any way out for that?
No. There isn't a way out for that. It's very interesting because Office 2021 is being introduced now. I think it has already been launched a couple of days back. And do you know what DOA means? I mean, not dead or alive. What DOA means? It means dead on arrival. So Office 2021 is literally dead on arrival because Office 2021 will not get all the features in it, which is so stupid, right? Like, why would you launch something which doesn't have all the features in it? The reason is, I mean, that's a business call, right? Because a lot of organizations don't want to get into the subscription model for a variety of reasons. They want to get a perpetual license. That is why they're offering Office 2021. But then Office 2021 is guaranteed not to have the latest features because it will never get an update, right? Until the next one comes in. So it's very unfortunate that they have decided to do this, and it's not very clear, right? Like, somebody is going to go online and try to purchase it. They don't really know that why would this not have all the latest features? I'm paying whatever 14,000 rupees for it, but this is not going to have all the latest features. That's just the nature of it. If you go to the Office website, it will explain to you. One second. We don't want to log in. Right. So if you go to the Microsoft website, it is going to tell you that this is what you need, right? You need Microsoft 365. This is the only version that is guaranteed to have all latest features and updates coming in. Right? But I think they could have been clearer here rather than saying that we have 19 and we have 365. It's not very apparent as to what the difference between them is. But then, buyer beware, right? But yeah, the short answer is there's nothing you can do about it. In fact, this is a problem we all have, right? As a consultant, look at my issue. I work with organizations that have 15 offices, right, around the world. Now, how am I expected to know which location has which version? So I have to make sure that everything I do is compatible, or I give them the documentation. So this version control is very, very difficult, and it's very unfortunate, but there's nothing you can do about it, right? And this is only going to get worse with time because more and more people are going to adopt the new features. So if you do dynamic arrays or let and you send it to somebody who doesn't have let, it will crash. It will not work on the system, right? But as strange as it sounds, there's absolutely nothing you can do about it.
Fine, sir. Thank you.
Great. All right. So Flashfill is what I wanted to show you. So we have done charts, we have done dynamic arrays, we did the if statement yesterday, and we have also done Flashfill. Let me just see what else we want to work on. Give me a moment. So just let me think. Just a moment. Okay, let me ask. Have you done pivot tables already?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Have you done date functions?
So not that much, just used once.
What have you done in date? If you can recollect anything.
Like this
Today
function,
function.
yeah, dated if.
Dated if has been taught to you. Okay, I'm impressed. What else?
The basic ones, date, diff, the today, now, and all basic functions we did.
What about expiry date? No, you haven't done expiry date. So let's come to 006. 006, everyone. And we want to do just come to this one, the second sheet, and this part, functions to expiry date. It's not difficult, it's just that you need to know exactly what to use. Right. So tell me, how do you go about this? If you have products that have been purchased on a certain date and the warranty has been given in months, it could be a product, it could be an asset, a contract, a service level agreement, whatever it is. You want to find out the expiry date. How will you do that? Okay. So let's cut to the chase. You write ED. Very simple. You will say starting date, comma, the number of month minus 1. Okay. I'm also writing the formula here.
Sir, why use -1?
Yeah, because if you don't do -1, it will give you the 11th of November 2050. But expiry always happens including the starting date, right? That's why, because it's not including the 11th of November, and I want the 11th of November to be included, in which case the expiry will always happen on the 10th, not on the 11th.
Okay. So it is end of the day of 10th of November.
Yeah. Like 1 second before midnight of 12 a.m. on 11th November is when it's going to expire, right? So that is what you have.
Sir, how Excel knows this is month or days or year? Like this 12 is months, not year.
Month, the input asks you for the month. So if you have the year, you will have to multiply by 12.
So is there any formula which can add years? If instead of months, it was written that 3 years.
But why do you need it for a year? If you have the year, then just simply multiply that by 12. Right?
Okay.
Right. So if you were given 1 year, 1.5 years, 3 years, simply do 3 into 12, 1.5 into 12, 1 into 12. Right? Okay.
Sir, why you are doing -1?
Because if you don't do -1, you will get the 11th, no? But if something has been purchased on the 11th, it's not going to expire on the 11th, right? It's going to expire 1 day before. That's why. Right? Okay.
Yes, sir.
One more example we want to do is this. Very important from a budget tracking perspective. So let us say that I have a target given for a month. So I worked with Reckitt for 3 years, right? Post my MBA. So I was doing about 1.25 crores a month. That was my target. I was in sales, right? So I know that I have to do 1.25 crore, let's say 125 lakhs in a month. And I'm sitting on the 11th and I've only done 10 lakhs. So I have another 1.15 crores to go, right? So what I need to understand is that, okay, how many days are left in the month? Because I have to break down my target into the number of days. Now, it seems like a very easy thing to do, but it actually isn't. Because if you're sitting on the 11th, how do you know how many days are left in the month? Think about it, right? I mean, if you say that, okay, it's 19, how do you know there are 19 days left? How do you calculate that, right? When you have been given different days, you can't go and do it manually. So to do this, we write equal to EO month. EO month basically gives me the last date of the month. That means 11/11/2014 will become 30/11/2014. So from end of month, I will subtract these starting dates. So that will tell me, this is actually, let me show it to you step by step. So if you do EO month, comma 0, it will give you 30th November. From that, you do minus 11th November, it will give you the result. I'll simply change it to a number now. Like this.
So will you please explain again this one?
EO month tells you the last date for the month. EO month tells you returns the last day of the month. So today being the 28th of September and 30th being the last date of the month, how will you come to the 30th of September? You will do year, month, comma, 0. 0 means the end of the current month.
Sir, if we use another number instead of 0, then what will the
Then it will
result?
take you to the last date of the next month. So if you say 1, then it will tell you how many days are left till the 31st of December. So there are 50 days left till the 31st of December.
Okay.
So,
Like-
but sir, I have a question. Like when we do it in the date format, it gives in 1900s year. Why is that?
I'm sorry, what's the question here?
So
This
like,
thing.
yeah. So why
You
it is
haven't been
given?
taught this. You don't actually need to learn it, but sure, you're asking me, so I'll tell you. So 1st January 1900, is it a date? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. 31st December 9999. Do you think it's a proper date?
So it will be in future, right?
No, not just in the future, way ahead into the future, right? I'm
Yes,
not
sir.
talking about 100 or 200 years. This is crazy, right? I mean, it's going to be post-apocalyptic by then, right? 9999. Is it a date? Yes or no? What do you think?
Yes, sir.
Will Excel consider this as a date? It will, even though it makes absolutely zero sense to do that. It will. Okay, what about 31st December 1899?
It should, sir.
It wouldn't. That's where it gets crazy. Excel is so stupid that it considers 1st January 1900 as a date, right? If I write today being 20th September, that is also a date. 31st December 1999 is a date, but anything prior to 1st January 1900 is not a date. It doesn't understand that it's a date. You can't make this into a date format, right? So tell me, if 1st January 1900 is the first date that Excel can understand, when I convert this to a number, what will it become?
So
1. So when I say 19, what date is the 19th? 19th is nothing but 19th January 1900. Does that make sense? So now when I say that today is, just think about it. When I say today is 44467, what does that mean?
So that the number of days from 1st January.
Starting from the
1900.
1st of January 1900. That's all, right? That's the way Excel works. Is that clear? Very simple, right? 1st
Yes,
January
sir.
1900 is what you have. So this creates a lot of problem in legal undertakings, right? Because when you are a lawyer, there is a lot of, not that lawyers use a lot of Excel, but I have a few good friends who are lawyers. They say that whenever they have to work on Excel, sometimes you have to go back to verdicts that, go back like 150 years. And you can't, because it will not accept anything prior to 1st January 1900, which is crazy. How does time work? Time works in a cycle. That means if I write today and now, 8:11, right? If I convert this into a time, a number, it will become 44467.84. Can somebody tell me what does the 0.84 mean?
So that excess time.
Okay. If I change this to 0.5, what time of the day is it?
12 noon.
12 noon. Makes sense, right? So if I convert this into a time, it will give me 12. If I say that, okay, I want to write, so 0.5 is 12, 0.25 is 6 a.m., 0.125 is 3 a.m., right? And if I write 23:59:59, that means the last second of the day, right? Like this, and I convert this into a number and I increase the decimal places quite a bit. This is how Excel understands 11 p.m., 59 minutes and 59 seconds. Make sense? Everybody? So if I write now minus today, it will give me the current time of the day, right? Which according to Excel is 0.84. But this will keep on changing. Do you see how it is changing every time I press enter? Because every second the number is different. No? So every second of the day, has a unique number associated with it, right? I hope that makes sense. So how many seconds are there in a day? Anyone?
84,000 something.
86,400, right?
Yeah.
So if I divide 1 by 86,400, I get a constant. What does this refer to? 1 second. Does everybody agree? Can you think of any businesses where this is important to do calculations at the precision level of a second?
The stock market.
Absolutely. What else?
The
Advertising.
scientific research.
Scientific research. Very good. Scientific research, algorithmic trading, anything in finance, right? What else?
Forex.
I'm sorry?
Forex trading.
Fair enough. So we have covered that. Tell me something different.
Can advertising companies.
Okay. What else? Cost centers, right? BPO. It's very important because every extra second here and there is added cost to you, right? So there are a lot of use cases where seconds are important. In fact, earlier today, I was solving this problem for Adani. So Adani has this issue with their dispatch in and dispatch out. So I was just solving this for them today. So they said that, Havish, we have an in time and an out time, right? For their transmission line. So they say that our vendor sends us something at a certain. So they sent it to us at on 1st September, 5 a.m. And we dispatched it from our plant on the 27th of September at 2:20 a.m. So we want to know what was the duration, because that's very important, right? There's a holding cost. Whenever you're keeping stuff in your warehouse or at your plant, there is a holding cost to it. So they said we wanted to know what is the difference in days, hour, minute, and seconds. So I just you won't see the formula here. Basically, this is a custom format like this, right? So I had to build a custom format for them that allowed them to see the difference in day, hour, minute, and seconds, right? So I'm only showing this to you to tell you that there are use cases, right, for all of these things. You might say, but why would we ever want to go down to the precision level of a second? But you have to. There are a lot of cases for that. Like in their case, seconds were actually not needed. They wanted till minutes, but seconds can also be needed in many cases, right? One other example I will give you. Just a minute. Yeah. In finance, you have issues where there are large numbers, right? So the issue is that if you write a credit card number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. How many digits? Guys, credit card numbers, how many digits?
16.
What will happen when I press enter?
So it will change to scientific value, E something other.
Something very crazy will happen with no warning, no error. Very happily, it is changing. Please look at the formula bar. It is changing my 1, the last number, into a 0. Now, if you want to show it, I can go to custom format and I can go to custom and change this to a 0. I will not get into explanation as to why and how this works. This is like a 2-hour topic in itself. But the idea is that I am writing the number right in front of you. See, I'm putting a 1 here. Very happily, Excel is converting that 1 into a 0. So any number that I write after the 15th position will be shown, but as a 0. And why is that? Because Excel has a precision of only 15 characters. And that is crazy, right? Like there are so many cases where I have to do beyond 15, right? Credit card being an example, right? And there's nothing you can do about it because Excel just it refuses to look at any character after 15. We just have to live with it. I mean, I'm not telling you it's a good or a bad thing. There's nothing you can do about it. Right? Any observation, any question on this?
Sir, so how do you
While
handle
finding
credit
the how-
card data?
So there is no good answer for that, to be honest, as to how we handle it. Sometimes we break it into 2 parts. We do a concatenation. Like Big Fours have a division called, a line of service called FIDS, which is Forensic Investigation and Dispute Settlement. So they do a lot of discretionary auditing for companies. So forensics being where you want to look at errors, disparity in numbers, insider trading, data non-uniformity, stuff like that, right? So with forensics, the thing is that you have to look at a lot of financial data, which runs into lakhs and crores of records. And many times you have numbers that go beyond 50. But like I said, honestly, there is no one answer to this. Sometimes we convert it into a text value, right? So if it has been given, like we will pull it from the system in two parts. So if it is coming as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and if it is coming as 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, what I'll do is, when I will not pick it up together, because if it gets picked up together, SAP will export it as a number, but Excel will not be able to display it as a number. So I ask SAP, I configure it to give me two columns, part 1 and part 2. And then when I'm concatenating it, at that point, I will say, okay, let me convert this into a text. So when I'm combining this, right, and this, at that point, I will say that this has to be a 0 format, right, like this. But then again, you notice that it will still give me a 0 here. So here we can say text 0 concatenated with text 0. Right. So, I mean, I'm not telling you that it's the correct answer or anything. I'm just trying to tell you that there are these crude ways of managing it. But it really depends on what type of problem is there. I can't tell you right now, these are the 15 things we do. There are a bunch of different things we do. Sometimes if we don't need the entire number, we take out the portion that we need to look at right now, or we encrypt a part of that number. So many times what we will do is we say we don't need the last 4 digits or maybe the middle 4 digits, because that part is something we are not interested in from an analysis point of view. So what we will do in such a case is I will say, okay, let me take B4 and I will take the number, but I will exclude the first 4. So we will encrypt it. So in this case, we will say that I want to repeat, let's say an asterisk 4 times. And then I want to take the right comma 4. So then the number comes like this. So this is okay because it's a text value. It's not a number anymore. So as you can see, there's nothing very complex about what I'm doing. It's just about being creative, right? And thinking of ways in which the client problem can be handled. It's easy to explain it to others. The formula should always be modular, which means that you should always build a formula that can be expanded upon. You should not build something that is rigid, that cannot be integrated with other things, right? It always has to be expandable and modular. Don't worry, I mean, you will learn these things once you join the corporate and if you work in these areas. But then you have to constantly keep on experimenting and going online and reading about these things, right? You can't just sit and wait for others to come and explain it to you, right? You have to constantly be, on a journey of reading and reading and reading. Anyway, let's come back. So we'll do one more example in this. Let us do this one. Let us leave the first one. Let's do the second one. Sorry, why is it not working? Just a minute. Okay. But let it be there. That's okay. This we are going to skip. Let's do this. How do we do this? I have a project start and a project end, and I need to know what is the time taken. Can you give me a use case? Why would I want to find something like this?
So we can use this in supply chain, like for how many days it is used to deliver something or something.
Absolutely. So you have hired a consultant and you want to know the start and the end date because you're going to bill, the consultant is going to bill you accordingly, right? In many cases, you want to understand the efficiency of a resource. So you have deputed an analyst to an end client and you want to see how long that project or that intervention took. So yeah, how do we do this? How do you find the time taken? In days, right? How do you find the time taken in days? Assuming that we only work 5 days a week, right? No Saturday, Sunday. how are you going to find the time taken? See, if you only do minus end minus start date, it will give you 101, right? But that doesn't make any sense because it's including the Saturdays and the Sundays as well, right? So what we have to do here is we use a function called net workdays. Net workdays tells you the number of working days between two dates with a weekend parameter. So you can choose which days you want to exclude. So we want to say here that start date, end date, comma, 1. 1 means that I want Saturday and Sunday to be excluded from the analysis. So it tells me 73. So there are 27 weekends during that period.
So that +1 is already included in this formula, sir.
So that is an option, no? So you can decide which weekend you want to exclude from the analysis.
No, so basically when initially when you did that, it was C14 minus B14 +1. So that we include both the dates in the period which we are trying to calculate.
Yeah, yeah. Here it is included, correct.
Okay.
Right, all good.
I have a question. So if we add a number to holidays, the time taken doesn't change. Why is that?
You don't add a number to holidays. You give it a holiday. So let's say from the 25th of December 2014 till the 2nd of January, these were holidays, right? So if you say that this is my holiday period, like you get a holiday list at the beginning of the year, it gives you 66.
Got it. Thank you.
And it is smart enough not to double deduct. So if a holiday is landing on a Saturday or a Sunday, it will only remove that Saturday and Sunday once, not twice.
And sir, can we custom the holidays? Like
that means?
That means like instead of Saturday or Sunday, we can like Wednesday or Thursday or something like that.
Yeah, you have that one. So you have the custom weekend parameter.
Okay. Got it.
For example, in the Middle East, it would be different. So you won't have a Saturday and a Sunday.
So previous formula दिखाना एक बार. Show me previous.
This one?
No, sir, the same one, time taken, but without holidays.
That's okay. Just remove this.
So what is the difference
And sir,
between?
for the above example, which formula we should apply for the deadline?
So there is something like the network days. There is a sister formula called work date. Right. Starting date, comma 100, comma 1. It'll have to be in a date format, obviously. The only thing is that when you're doing a workday, you have to do. I'm sorry, what am I writing here? My bad. Number of days is. Okay, I did the right thing. You will have to make sure to put this -1 because if a project is starting on the 11th, Excel thinks it will start counting on the 12th, but we want to include the 11th. So we have to do that -1. If you want the 11th to be included. If you don't want it to be included, then don't put that -1. Right. Anything else on this? Anyone?
So instead of a time given, if we have given the number of months or something like that, so in that case, we will apply E date, right? In case of number of months.
So what is the problem statement here?
For the deadline one, sir.
Yeah. If you have the month, then you will do E date. Correct.
So what is the difference between workday.intl and just workday?
Yeah. So if you don't do international, then it assumes that it is one. So it will only remove Saturday and Sunday. But if you do INTL, it allows you to choose the weekend you want to remove, right? That's all.
And so just can you please explain the significance of -1, why we do -1 after B5?
See, it's very simple. If I have today, right, which is the 28th of September 2021, and I've been given how many days to complete a task, let's say 5 days, right? So if you look at the calendar, tell me what is the deadline that I have? If I start on the 28th, if I tell you you've been given 5 days to complete a task, when will it get over? When is the deadline?
2nd of Saturday.
No. We're assuming we're not working on weekends, right? So when will you complete it? On the 4th?
Yes.
Agreed. Now what happens is that, once again, if I have been given 5 days, I will say 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. But the problem is that if I say work day and I say comma 5, comma 1, it gives me the 5th, right? Not the 4th.
Yes.
The reason is because it is starting counting on the 29th. So because it's starting counting on the 29th, it excludes the starting date. We want to tell it, no, don't start on the 29th, start on the date that has been given to you. So you have to do that -1. Now you can ask me, but why have they done this? Why did they not put it in a way that it included the starting date? It is what it is, right? Can't help it. But 99% of the time, you will have to do the -1 because if the project is starting on the 28th, of course, you want to include the 28th. Why would you start on the 29th? It doesn't make any sense, right? So yeah, this -1 is almost a must. You have to do that.
And if there is no holiday as such on the weekend, then we need not to write to 1, right?
Then you simply do +5.
Okay.
Sir, in weekend part, number 1, what shows that there will be 6 days of working or something else? I'm not able to get it.
Sorry, say that again.
In the network days formula,
yeah,
we put 1 in the weekend part.
Right. So we can put 11 if you want only Sundays to be removed. If it's a 6-day working week, then you could put 11 there.
Okay.
Cool. Anything else? Anyone? All right. I'm going to close this now because I have an entire course on this and we don't want to spend too much time on it. So I have an entire course on date functions with 20 examples. It's a 2-hour course. You already have access to it, right? Where all of these things and more have been covered. All right. So what we will do is we will start with Power BI. All right. Those of you who are working on the Mac, I hope you have arranged, I don't know, a second laptop or something, because you will not be able to use Power BI on Mac unless you have a dual boot. If you have Windows installed on it, Power BI will never be available on the Mac because of obvious reasons. Being a Microsoft product, I don't know, they might do it, but it's very unlikely because Power BI is integrated very deeply with other Microsoft products, and Mac being a completely different OS, in any case, there will be a lot of limitations, and the support for Mac will always be bad. So probably it's a good thing that they haven't done it for the Mac. Tableau, on the other hand, is available for Windows and Mac. It is at par, right? So all the Mac users, please make some alternate arrangement because we're going to start working with Power BI. Right? And also please get a second laptop if you, I mean, if you're going to become a data analyst or anything in after an MBA, it's very unlikely that you're going to work on a Mac exclusively. Some of you might, it depends on what organizations you end up working with. But if you work with traditional Lala companies, you're not going to work on a Mac, let's be honest. So this excuse is not going to stand that, oh, I could not learn it well because I did not have the right laptop with me. So please invest in a second laptop and make sure you get a Windows laptop as well. Because even in Excel, there are many things not available on Excel for Mac. I am patient enough to say, koi baat nahi, it's not there, let me think of some other way, but it's not going to sell in an interview, right? In an interview, nobody cares about what preference you have as far as your OS is concerned. So you have to invest in a Windows laptop as well. If you don't want to invest in a new laptop and you want to get a dual boot, then you can, not even a dual boot, you can get Parallels. Parallels is, I think, 6,000, 7,000 rupees, something like that. It's not very expensive. Allows you to run Windows on Mac. That is what everybody uses. And like I said, it's very cheap. So it's $100 per year, right? So yeah, you will have to get this. $80 for home and student. So you have 4 virtual CPUs, 8 GB. Yeah, that should be more than enough. And for students, you have 39. Excellent. So at least for now, you can get this. Later on, you'll have to figure out what to do. Also, M1 has some problems. So if anybody is working on the M1 MacBook, that is going to have some other issues running Parallels and running Excel. I'm not an expert. You will have to search for that on your own and figure that out, right? Okay. So great. Let's come to Power BI. How many of you have worked on Power BI earlier? Just put a 0 as never and a 10 being an expert, just for my understanding, so that we will do it accordingly. Okay, so everybody's at a 0, right? Manav is a 1. Okay, I can see a 5 somewhere. Nikhil, all right. Okay, so that helps. I think save a few of you, all of you are working with Power BI for the first time. Is Power BI important? Really, really important, okay? It is almost as important as learning Excel and PowerPoint. It is almost as important as building your communication skills, right? And this is no exaggeration. I have been working on Power BI since 2018 March, which is when I did my first training for EY. And slow beginning, right? We used to do Excel trainings, and then they said, okay, let's try this new kid on the block. And then how it has ramped up in the last 3 years is absolutely fantastic, right? And if you need any more validation on that, you can look at the Gartner Magic Quadrant. This comes every year in the month of February. So Gartner tracks, it creates something called the Magic Quadrant for different technology platforms. So for business intelligence, Tableau, Power BI, right? Clear winner. And there are only 3 of them in the top quadrant, which are leaders. We only have Power BI, Tableau, and Click. And at least in India, Click is used very little. There are many reasons for that. And Tableau also is, I would not say on a decline, but then, like I said, at least in India, Power BI is, around the world, Power BI is growing faster than any other platform. In India, it is growing even faster than that, right? And there are reasons for that. Number one, very few organizations were doing BI before, right? So now that they are doing it, they are jumping onto Power BI because Power BI for them is an easier offering. The entry point is easier. The learning curve is much flatter because it's a Microsoft product. So some similarities are there, better integration with the Microsoft stack, Outlook, SharePoint, Office. Like with Adani, I was asking them, do you have a paid account? They said, no, we don't have a paid account. As it turned out, they have a paid account. They did not even know it. How did they have a paid account on Power BI? Because they have an E5 Office license. And if you have Microsoft Office E5, which is like an enterprise account, you get Power BI Pro for free. So that is what Microsoft is doing. It is trying to integrate everything together. Power BI is integrated with Microsoft Teams as well, right? Tableau, of course, is a heavyweight in the market. It has been around for 18 years now. And Tableau was purchased by Salesforce, right? A couple of years back. That was a huge acquisition. And so far, see, Salesforce is growing. So Salesforce is growing, and they purchased Tableau for like a huge amount. I mean, this in itself is a marketing case study. $15.7 billion is a crazy number, right? For purchasing a tool which, sure, it's a proven tool, but it isn't like the definitive tool in the market, right? Tableau has its own set of clients like Netflix, PUBG, they all use Tableau. Everybody has heard of it, but it is not as pervasive as a Microsoft product. But then Salesforce, anyway, Salesforce is doing very well. They took a call. And now that we have Slack, we have Tableau, it is integrating all of these things, right? But then we don't know what will happen. When I was working with Reckitt back in 2009, we had a tool called IBM Cognos, right? And it's so interesting because if you look at the Gartner Magic Quadrant from 2011, 2010, the landscape was so different. Look at this. This is how the Gartner Magic Quadrant looked in 2011. We had IBM as one of the leaders in the market. We had Oracle. We had MicroStrategy. They have completely disappeared, right? IBM Cognos is one of the worst BI tools in the market now, right? So the point I'm trying to get across, Tableau is here, right? It keeps on shifting very rapidly, right? So there are no clear winners in the market. Past performance is no guarantee of future success. IBM has stated that they want to make a comeback with Cognos, which used to be like one of the most powerful BI tools in the market. But for a variety of reasons, it has been left behind. And Cognos has been around for like a really long time. I mean, 1969, I mean, can you beat that? I mean, this was so early to the market, people were not even prepared to use something like Cognos, right? And if you look at Cognos, it's very similar to, like, this is the big daddy of Tableau and Power BI. But then there's a lot more that goes into making a tool successful. Simply saying that we are the fastest and the best with the most features is not enough. There are many other factors that go into it other than the marketing. So the reason I'm telling you all this is to assure you that Power BI is not going away anywhere, right? It's only going bolder and bigger. And as of today, 97% of Fortune 500 are invested in Power BI. Right? So you can see that 485 out of the largest 500 companies in the world are using Power BI, which just goes to tell you how quickly and rapidly organizations have adopted it. So Power BI is a must. It's like I said, as important as learning Excel and PowerPoint, you have to learn Power BI. And learning Power BI is a journey. It's not a task. You can't just say that, okay, I will work very hard for the next 2 months and I will be an expert at Power BI. Not possible. 2 reasons. One is that it's a very vast tool. And also it gets updated so frequently that if you are an expert and you know everything today, you will be obsolete in the next 6 months because there's just so much that gets changed in Power BI. So yeah, the one-line takeaway is that really, really, really important from a job perspective, from a future perspective. Imagine I'm doing trainings on Power BI for Indian Oil and Tata Power and very traditional companies. That just goes to show you how important it has become from a skill perspective, right? Okay. Power BI is a free tool. So while there are paid accounts available, which offer you additional features, all the charts, calculation, everything is there in the free version. The big differences between the free and the paid version is that the software remains the same. The paid account will allow you to handle larger data sets. It will allow you to share your reports with others. But every visualization, every formula remains the same. There's no difference, right? So let me put it in a very simple manner. Free version has absolutely no problem. Whatever you're learning and need to learn can be learned on the free version as well, I'm not going to teach you the interface right now. We will learn it as we go along. But the first thing we want to do is to understand what data set we are working on. So please come to the folder, everyone. This is the data set and the marketing superstore data set. Just open the Excel file. Let me walk you through it. So we have the marketing superstore data set. Why have I taken this data set? This is one of the most analyzed data sets in the world, right? If you Google it, if you say superstore analysis, you will see that there are hundreds, if not thousands, of people who have already, had a shot at this. It's a hypothetical data, so it's a fictitious data. And the reason it is so popular is because the superstore data is inbuilt in Tableau. So when you work on Tableau, this is one of the sample data sets that has been given to you. Right? So, sorry, why can't I see it? Just a minute. Let me open my paid version. Yeah, so you notice that Superstore is one of the sample data sets given in Tableau. So when organizations started working with Tableau, most of them ended up working on the Superstore data, right? And that's why this is almost like a rite of passage. Anybody who starts learning BI has to work on the Superstore data. Like this is one of the samples we do in our meetings and our demonstrations and all of that. And because you already have so much analysis that has been done on it, this is something you need to know inside out. It's like when you speak to data analysts and all, we all talk about the Superstore data. We know it inside. I know exactly how many rows are there. I know how many columns are there. I know there are 165 countries. I know there are 3 segments. So I have it on the tips of my fingers, and you need to as well, right? What is the data that we have? It's a very simple, clean data set. We have 15 columns. I have actually reduced the number of columns. I've removed the things we don't need. The original data has a little more in it, but I've taken the ones that are important to us. It's a large data, so we have about 51,000 records. And let me take you through it one by one. So we have the order date for 12, 13, 14, 15. After that, we have the shipping date for 5 years. That would be 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. We have a few hundred customers with us. Then we have 5 columns with a geography. So we have the market, the region, country, state, and the city. So the market that we have is 5 markets. So we have United States, Canada, Europe, Latin America, Asia Pacific, and Africa. And then of course you have regions and countries and state. We have 165 countries here. Then we have the category. There are 3 of them. We have furniture, technology, and office supplies. We have 3 business segments. We have consumer, corporate, and home office. And we have 17 subcategories. And then we have the sales quantity, discount, and profit. Right? So please go through the data once and tell me if you have any questions on this. Then we will load it to Power BI and start to do some analysis on it. Anyone? Any questions on this?
Sir, the discounted column isn't in percentage.
It is supposed to be read as a percentage. It is a number, but consider that as a percentage, right? Otherwise, there are no misspellings, there are no errors, there are no blank rows and blank columns and all that, right? Perfect. So now that we understand what data we are working with, let's pull this into Power BI. Now, Power BI is an intelligence tool. That means that it can connect to multiple data sets, not just an Excel file, but many, many other data sets. What all can it connect to? You can see that in the Get Data button on the top left corner. And you can see here that Power BI can connect to different types of files. So we have our standard file formats. We have Excel, CSV, text, XML. XML is also an export. So from a lot of software in organizations, when it's a large data, it is exported as an XML format. JSON, most of you would know. So JavaScript object notation is how data is usually transferred over the internet, right? Across websites. And then you can combine different data sets from a folder. This is something we'll be doing tomorrow. And then, of course, it can read PDF files as well. Obviously not scanned documents, but any other PDF file, it can read the data from that. And then you have SharePoint as well, right? It can connect to different types of databases. So we have SQL, IBM, MySQL, Postgres, SAP HANA, right? Amazon, Google BigQuery, that is Google Big Data. Amazon Athena is there. So there are a lot of different connectors available. Then you have the Microsoft Power Platform. We don't want to get into this right now. Then we have Microsoft Cloud. Like there are 3 cloud providers, right? We have Amazon Web Services, we have Google Cloud, and we have Microsoft Azure, right? So in Azure, you see that there are many, many different types available here. You don't really need to know all this in detail, but just have a very high level overview of what is Azure and what is a blob storage and what is Cosmos. Just like one line of understanding will really help you, okay? Then you have some other online services like SharePoint, Microsoft Dynamics, Salesforce, Google Analytics, Adobe Analytics, right? And then some other random connectors, like if you want to connect to a website, you have HDFS. You can also run R and Python scripts in Power BI. You can do that in Tableau as well. So you can integrate R and Python with Power BI and Tableau both. Right? So this has also been added recently, Bloomberg Data and Analytics. All right, for now, we want to simply select an Excel file. So we go to Excel and click on Connect. And we will select our data set. That would be IMI, data sets, marketing, Superstore. Right? Right now, there is only one object. That means there is only one sheet in my workbook. So that is the one I have to select. And there are 2 options that we have here at the bottom. We have load. Load simply loads the data as it is. But if you don't like the data, if you want to remove some columns, make some changes, add a calculation, then you click on transform, which again we'll be covering later. But for now, we simply want to load it. So I will load the data. And once the data is loaded, you can see a list of all the columns on the right side. Let me know if all of you are able to see this. You have your orders compact with all the columns here. While the minimum requirement for Power BI is only 2 GB, and you need to have Windows 8 and above, honestly, it's all foolishness. the more RAM you have, it's going to help you. Even though Power BI doesn't actually use a lot of RAM, it's still a bit, right? Like I'm not even doing anything right now. It's still 1.3. It's quite a lot, right? So, and there are reasons for that because there is also a SQL Server instance running in the backend, right? So, honestly, the better laptop you have, the better your Power BI is going to run. It can run on old systems as well, but let's be honest, the newer your system, the better it's going to run. So please invest. See, if you're in data, anything to do with data, you have to invest. It's an investment, it's not an expense, right? So you have to invest in a good laptop. You have to get at least 16 GB of RAM. And you also have to get a solid state drive. Most laptops nowadays have an SSD, but you have to make sure to get that. My laptop is super spec. So I have 16 GB RAM, 8 GB video RAM. I have a 2070 Ti. So super max SKU. So mine is very different, but 8 GB is also okay, but 16 GB is better, right? So please make sure to get that, a solid state drive and more RAM as much as possible. Right. Okay. Now what we want to do is to ask a question. So we want to use AI to ask a question about our data. I think I gave this demonstration in that webinar as well. So let's do that together now. I want you to select this button, Q&A. Everyone. If you see the filter pane, close it. We don't need that. I will make it larger so that you can see it properly. And we're going to ask a question about our data. We will start with something very simple. So I will say sales. Right? It tells me my sales is $12.64 million. Then I want to know, okay, what is my sales and profit? So it tells me my sales and profit is 12.64, and let's put it in crores. So 1.26 crores and 14,67,000. If you want to know sales and profit for each segment, then it tells you a scatter chart, but that might not be what we need, right? It's too complex. We want a simple column chart. So we can say, okay, show it to me as a column chart. So it will make a column chart like this. So please try this with me, everyone. Let me know if you have any issue. I'm just going to increase the zoom level a little bit. Sales and profit for each segment as a column.
Sir, could you repeat the steps again?
You select the Q&A button, and that's it. You write the question.
Fine, sir.
You don't actually have to write everything. If you simply say sales, profit, segment, right, and column, it still works, right? It's smart enough to understand what you want. Like here, the column is actually a little complicated. So you can say as a column, it will create a column. Like this.
Yes, sir.
But I would always suggest that you phrase a proper question. So you should say, show me sales and profit as a column. Right? For more complex queries, it becomes easier if you write a proper question. People always feel it's easier if I just put the keywords. It's actually not. It's easier if you write a proper question.
Sir, in my case, it's showing that couldn't understand what's.
How is that possible? Share your screen. Let's see.
Yes, sir.
I don't know. Try typing total sales. See if that helps. I don't know. Why do you have the data set coming 2 times? Just delete one of them. And why does it say marketing superstore? Can you just click on that arrow on the right side, below the field?
Why, sir?
On the right side of your screen, on the other corner, right? Where it says marketing superstore.
Ah, okay.
Just click on that arrow. Yeah. No, you did not load it properly. That's why. Just delete it. Click on the 3 dots and delete from the model, both of them. Yeah. Once more. Delete the other one as well. Please load the data once again. So get data from Excel. I have no idea why you're getting the table as well. That's okay. Just select orders compact, the second sheet name, right? Load. Right. Ask your question. I think it should work now. Give us some time.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Right. I'm not really going to do this in detail because you have to experiment on your own. There is no guidebook or checklist that tells you what can be asked, what cannot be asked. But don't expect fancy stuff. It is not meant to do calculations and all. Like you can if you want to, some basic calculations, but that's not really why it is intended to be used, right? It's meant for very simple things, like the one I'm showing you. So if I say state sales as map for India, that makes sense, right? It's a simple question and it gives me the result.
So, sir, can we add multiple such windows, or do we have to write the question in that same window again and again?
You can add as many as you want.
Okay, sir.
Okay. The other thing we can do is we can also make stuff like trend lines. So I'll just give you one more example. So I can say sales, right, by my order year. Now think about it. In my data, we don't have the order year. There's no field called the order year. We only have an order date, right? But that's okay. It's smart enough to understand that I want to look at the order year. And I also want to look at the order quarter. Okay. And I want to break it by the 3 segments that we have. Like this. All right, so we have the Q&A. I'll just keep it here on the side. We'll make it a little smaller because we want to create a complete dashboard, right? So we will make this a little smaller and let us also put a border to this. So on the right side, you have these options for the border and the shadow. Please select both of them. The border and the shadow. Of course, formatting changes you can do. Things like background color and also if you want to change the color here, right? For the question, you can do that. So I'm just going to make it 12 points. It's better. Let's make it a little smaller. That is okay. And yeah. The next thing is we would like to keep a simple column chart that shows me something different. We already have this, but I want to change the question. Okay. So I'll say top 5 customer name by sales as a table. Right? Let's keep it simple. So top 5 customer name by sales as a table, right? And maybe let's also make it the profit. So I'll say total sales and total profit as a table. Right? Take your time, no hurry. Ask me if you have any question. So top 5 customer name by total sales and total profit as a table. So that's my first visualization that I've created, and I want to make one more now. So we will click outside on any blank area and we will create a column chart, this one. And in the column chart, let's keep something different. So here I want to keep my order date and my sales value. So my sales comes in values and my order date comes in by axis like this.
So can you please extend this one sales by year again?
Yeah. So we have selected this visualization. Order date is in the axis and sales is in the value like this.
Okay.
Right? And what we would like to do here is to add a border and a shadow. The options are in formatting, this one. Right? So let me just take you through all the three. The first option is the field where you put the axis value, things like that. Then you have the format where you make changes to the formatting, the color, border, data label. And then you have analytics. Now, analytics is dependent on what type of chart you're creating. Like with a column chart, the only two things I have is a constant line, that's it. And an x-axis constant line, right? Nothing else. But if you make a line chart, for example, if this was a line chart, then I will get even more options. I will get trend line, forecast, median, min, max, all of that. Right? But for now, we want to stick with a column chart. In formatting, what are the changes that we want to do? We want to add border and shadow, which I always like to do. We will also add the data label, right? Like this. And then within the data label, I would like to increase the size. So I will open this, I will increase the size, I will make it maybe 12 points and also make it show background. So I can see the background, this gray color that is coming, that will come, right? And because we have kept the data label, I don't need the y-axis now. So on my y-axis, very smartly, I will say that why do I need to show the numbers on the y-axis? So I will hide, okay? I will hide my title and I will also hide my y-axis like this. So it becomes a much cleaner chart right now. Please do this, everyone. Any questions, anyone on this? And see, don't worry if you are a little lost in the options. I know there are many of them, and that's okay. It's more important to understand the interface and get comfortable with it. I also have this problem. I know the option is somewhere and I'm not able to locate it. Right? That's okay. That's not important. The fact that there is a field and there is the analytics and there is a format, that is the takeaway. Right? Okay. This is great. But the problem is that I have my years. I want to show my quarters. Like 2012, Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, 2013, Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. So I'm going to click on this expand button. So we click on the expand button, and what that does is it shows me the data the way I want it, but then it's very cluttered, right? Because I have 4 years into 4 quarters. So I have 16 data points that are appearing here. It will become even worse if I go to my month level. Like it will plot everything, but I don't really feel anybody wants to see 16 quarters at the same time. Why would you, right? So I want to filter the data. I want to see only the last 3 quarters or the last 4 quarters, like that. So we will click outside. So I will deselect it, and I'm going to select a slicer, this one. And in the slicer, very simple, we will keep a order date like this. Now, even if you have never used it earlier, I am sure you look at it and you understand intuitively what it is supposed to do. The slicer will act like a timeline. It will slice my data. So if I don't want to see the entire data, I can just move it, and you notice it changes automatically. And the best part is my Q&A is also changing, right? So if I only want to see the last 3 months, it tells me for the last 3 months who have been the top 5 customers. So maybe from the 1st of August till the 21st of December, right? Actually, from the 1st of July, right? If you want. Yeah. Right. So the last 6 quarters. Any questions, anyone?
Sir, after selecting slicer, I'm not getting.
Share your screen. Let's see.
Sir, I'm getting as a drop-down list.
So first create the slicer and then put the order date in it. The order is important. Yeah, just delete that. Delete the slicer.
How?
Just select and delete.
This one.
Yeah, just delete that. Just press delete now.
How?
Or remove it. Sure. Yeah. So click. Yeah. Now insert a slicer. Correct. And then put the order date. Click on the slicer and then put the order date inside this. From the field list. Right.
Yes, sir. In the slicer.
Yeah, in the field. Drag the order date to the left. You can also do that. Right. Right. Just do the column chart as well so that others can see. Reduce the size of the slicer and close this filter pane that you see, filters. We don't need that right now. Just minimize it. That will give you some more space. Perfect. Reduce the size. You can make it really small. We don't need it to be so large. Yeah, even smaller, even smaller, even smaller. It doesn't need to be so tall. Perfect. Yeah, just let it be there and then create a column chart. That would be the second one. Right. And in this, you want to keep the order date in the axis. Correct. The order date is in the axis. Right. And the sales is in the values. That's it.
Yes. Yes.
And now that's it. That's what we did, right? Perfect. Any other question or issue?
And
Anyone?
so while doing the leveling, we just need to do the leveling part of it. Right?
Yeah. So just click on the chart. Right. Go to format. So click on the chart, not on the column. Somewhere on the chart. Right. And now click on format. That would be no, not there. That would be below the visualizations. You see that yellow underline?
Yes.
Right. The one on the right.
Yes.
The one, correct. The second one. Right. Just scroll down and you have data label. Just select that. It would be towards the top, right? Data label. Right. And then also click on the drop down on data label. Scroll down a little bit and add the even more, a little more. Yeah. Add the show background. Correct. And just scroll up a little bit and increase the text size to 12. All good. And then scroll down even further. Keep on scrolling. Go to the bottom. Scroll down, right? And add the border and the shadow. Even more. Scroll down even more. Yeah, the border and the shadow. Just turn it on, right? And the other one as well. Below this, you have the shadow. Don't change all that. Yeah, just select the shadow. Correct. Right. Cool. I will share my screen once again. Right. Anything else? Anyone? Good. All right. Now we also want to have a second chart, so I can copy paste the first one, Control C, Control V. But in the second chart, we don't want to have the same values, obviously. We want to keep something different. I want to replace my order date with the subcategory. And we want to replace this with a bar chart like this. That's the very first chart that we have.
Sir?
Yeah.
Whenever I use the slicer, it changes the range of every chart and everything that is present on the screen. So
Yeah,
what if I what if I want to use it for a particular chart or a particular graph only? And
right. So if you want to do that, just a minute. Sorry, my Epic pen has disappeared. Let me just re-enable that.
So slicer will work for both the data, right?
So you select the slicer, then you go to format, and then you select edit interactions. So what that allows you to do is it allows you to decide which one should it be connected to. So if you notice, I have an option here, I have an option here, and I have an option here. So right now, my slicer is connected to all the three, first and the second and the third. For some reason, if I don't want it to be connected to the Q&A, I can turn this off. What does that mean? Now, when I move my slicer, you notice that my
Yes, sir. The slicer is not affecting that.
slicer will only change the first and the second one, not the third one. So you can try this, everyone.
Sir?
Yeah.
I'm getting subcategory on x-axis. So how do I change that?
We are selecting the first chart, the bar chart.
Ah, okay, sir. Fine.
So I don't have this format option out here in the ribbon upper ribbon.
Yeah. Share your screen, we'll see.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, I can't see your screen. Oh yeah, all right.
Sorry.
You have to click on the slicer first. No, not a new one. Just select the one you already have. Right.
Yes. Yeah, now I got.
Right. Just a minute. All right. So let us close that. Right. And the slicer is going to interact with all the three visualizations that we have. So the column chart, the bar chart, and the Q&A. On top of that, the charts also interact between themselves, right? So for example, if I only select Q4, it tells me that out of the total sales for phones, which is, or let me select the year, that would be better. So if I see phones, which is my number one selling product subcategory, we are selling worth 17 lakh. Out of 17 lakh, how much has come from 2015? If I click on 15, it tells me that out of 17 lakh, 5.5 lakhs has come in the last year, right? Like that. Right. So not just the slicers, but the charts also interact amongst themselves. Right. By the way, there are no shortcuts in Power BI, unlike Excel and PowerPoint. I mean, Control C, Control B, Control Z, Control Y, that will work. Other than that, there aren't any other shortcuts as such. So whatever alignment and all that I'm doing it the way you are doing it, right? So don't feel that I'm doing it in a more efficient manner or anything. Just the way we normally create a slide by dragging, dropping. That is exactly how I'm doing it. The thing is that I do not see the total sales anywhere, which I want to, right? Because that's the KPI. I am happy to see the year-wise change and the subcategory split, but I can't see the total sales, total profit anywhere. So we will make a card, this one. And in the card, I'm just going to highlight that for you. So in the card, we are going to, I'm sorry. In the card, we are going to keep our sales value, right? I will also put my border and a shadow and also change the fill color. That would be, I don't know where that is. Is it the background? Must be the background. Yeah. So we have the background here. We have changed the background. So that would be my sales, everyone, right? And then we can make this a little larger. And let's keep the profit next to it. So we have the profit here. And as you would expect, the cards also interact. So if I select any one here, the cards are also changing. Let's also create a text box. So insert text box if you want to write something here. So I'll just say my sales dashboard. Where is my background color? Okay, there it is. Right. Any questions, anyone?
So when you click on the phones or any subcategory, it had some changes in the bar graph also. Yes. What is this?
So it is telling me that in 2015, my total sales was 42,99,000, out of which phones have contributed 5,52,000.
Okay.
So if I look at the top three, look at this. The total sales is 42.99, let's say 43, out of which 15, more than 1/3, has come from the top three products. That is the analysis, right? So far, it's just to report, but analysis means that you're coming up with insights. So the insight here is that in 2015, top three products contributed over 1/3 of your business.
How you selected top three?
Press control. You can either press shift.
Control and select.
Yeah, you can either press shift and drag it like this, or if you want to select them independently, you can press control and select them one by one like this. Right. Any other question? Anyone? All right. I think good job for today. We will please also save the work that you're doing. So I am going to put this in the same folder. IMI. Should we put this? Let's put it here. There are of course many other things to be covered, which we'll come to tomorrow. But good start. You have an idea now of how the interface is and what all is there. But I mean, we have just explored like 1% of Power BI. There's so much more that it has to offer, which we'll be doing tomorrow. Right. Any final questions, anyone? All good. All right. I think we can call it a wrap for today.
Like it is saving as a PBIX file. So if we want to open the same file after some time, like how we can open it from the
Double click on
same.
it.
Okay.
I mean, if Power BI is installed on your computer,
Yes.
or if it's installed on somebody else's computer, you can just send them the PBIX file and they can open it.
Thank you.
Right. Okay. Anything else? Anyone?
Yes, sir.
Tell me.
So tomorrow is a test for us in our class. I mean, not in our class, for a company that is visiting for SIP. So it will be happening from 6:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. So will there be any provision that this class, which we usually schedule between 7:30 to 9:30, can be shifted to 8:30 to 10:30?
Very difficult, guys. I have a 10:30 with Shaw, and so basically tomorrow I don't have a session with them. I have a session with them the day after, and I really have to do a lot of prep work for that. So tomorrow 8:30 to 10:30 would be extremely difficult. It will still come back to you in the morning once, but if not, then I'm not really sure what to do in that case. Maybe then we'll have to push it by a day. So we'll keep the other 3 days in. We have 6 days, right? So yeah, we'll keep Thursday, Friday, Saturday intact. Maybe we'll have to push one of them on a Sunday or something. Yeah. Actually, yeah, tomorrow was already cutting it very fine. You see, there's a very important launch at 12 o'clock. I have a 2:30, a 3:30 to 6:30. I have a 7:30 to 9:30. So I wasn't sure how to work on this in any case. But I was thinking, fine, after your session, I will start working on it. But then, so yeah, 10:30 is going to be very, very difficult. I mean, on any other day, it's usually not a problem. It's just that tomorrow will be a bit of an issue. So yeah. So you tell me what to do. One option is we can make this a 3 plus 3. So if you want to do a 7:30 to 10:30 on Thursday and a 6:30 to 9:30 on Friday, I'm okay with that. If you want to do that 2-hour session on some other day, I'm okay with that as well. Right? Yeah. I think let's not do 8:30 to 10:30. It's going to be very challenging for me that way. You tell me what other alternative you have, and we'll work on that.
Okay.
Right. But yeah, do let me know so that I'll plan my calendar recording.
Yes, so we will come back to you in this regard, sir.
Yeah. Just let me know like early tomorrow so that I can plan. Great. Anything else? Anyone would like to ask? Please stop the recording as well.